Love that sound. Love that sound. It's time. It's time. It's time. It's time for a twin this week in the news. People who make headlines, made headlines, and are going to continue to make headlines. That I research, and I call them my rebels, misfits, and mavericks, as I'll get to toward the end. This week's twin is about a gentleman named Jerry Murrell. Jerry Murrell.
Jerry or Sherry?
Jerry.
Jerry Murrell. Hey, Frank, who is Jerry Murrell?
I am so glad you asked there, Karnak. Jerry Murrell. In the 1940s, Jerry was born in a working class small town in northern Michigan. They were just people who worked for a living and drank beers and watched sports and tried to stay warm in the winter. Jerry was not a very good student. As a matter of fact, his teacher once told him in front of the class, she said, Jerry, if you don't change and adjust your attitude, you're going to end up flipping burgers to make a living. Which was kind of ironic because Jerry's favorite restaurant in his hometown, the working class town, was a local hole-in-the-wall called Push 'em Up Bill. Push 'em Up Bill. And Bill only served burgers. How did she know that? Push 'em Up Bill's was out of the way. It had a grill and a counter and one picnic table for guests, but every lunch, the place was packed with people waiting to buy the best burgers in town. Man, that made an impression on Jerry. Well, Jerry eventually improved scholastically, and he went to and graduated from the University of Michigan. Okay, so state school. After graduation, Jerry married his high school sweetheart, had 3 sons, and got a job selling life insurance. I can relate to that. I did the life insurance thing. But as it turned out, Jerry's life insurance sales career was better than his marriage. His wife divorced him and he had 3 sons, and took his 3 sons to Florida. Jerry was devastated. His 3 boys were his life. And he vowed, he didn't know how, but he vowed, someday I'm going to get my boys back. I can't imagine life without my boys. Well, Jerry kept on selling life insurance, and a few years later, Jerry took a consulting job in the Washington, D.C. area. There he met Janie. He got married and had another son with Janie, okay? And it was there while Jerry was in the D.C. area doing consulting. He says, man, there's a lot of money, as you can imagine, the government, but very little financial planning. Jerry had a good mind for those things. So he started a career as a financial advisor. And soon after that, I never found out why, his 3 sons from his first marriage came to live with him and Janie. So Jerry was fulfilled. His boys were back with him. And he was a dad again. And for fun, Jerry loved to take the family, Janie and the 4 kids, to Ocean City, Maryland, because they had a boardwalk there. And the highlight of their trip was getting something they called boardwalk fries. Now, there were 20 places on the boardwalk that sold boardwalk fries, but only one place, a place called Thrasher's, always had a line of people waiting to buy boardwalk fries. The other places weren't doing business. That made a lasting impression again on Jerry. Well, Jerry was doing well financially with his financial planning business, but you know what? He wanted to be his own boss. So he found this opportunity to invest in an oil field business in Texas. Great. And as he said in one interview, I probably didn't read the sign. They said, hey, stupid people, give us your money. And he invested his money and it failed. Jerry says, well, to hell with the remote businesses. I'm not going to do that anymore. So Jerry opened the bottled water business. Who the heck buys water in bottles when you get for free? Well, this was back in the early 80s, late 70s, okay? But that failed too. But Jerry still kept his dream of being his own boss. He just didn't know what he was going to do. But he tried it twice and it failed twice. Well, Jerry, being a financial planner, had saved money for his boys' education because he knew how going to college helped him. He now had 4 sons. But in this coincidence, like Jerry, they weren't very good students either. Okay. So Jerry called a family meeting, Janie and the kids, and asked, hey, I'm going to give you two choices. I got this college fund. We can use that for your college, or we can start a business. What do you want to do? Boy's hands were right up. No college. And Janie says, all right. So it was unanimous. And then Janie asked the question, Jerry, remember she was there with the oil field and a bottled water. Jerry, what kind of business are we going to start? Well, it was obvious to Jerry. Jerry went back to his childhood and his Ocean City days and he says, you know what? I want to open up a burger and fries business. And Jenny says, what? Why? Now, remember, this is 1986, and there were three companies, you may have heard of them, called McDonald's, Burger King, and Wendy's, which pretty much owned the burgers and fries business. Jerry says, I know that. I go there. My place is going to be different. How many times have we heard that before? He says, we are only going to sell burgers like Push 'em Up Bills in that northern Michigan town, and we're only going to sell fries like Thrashers, the best in town. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to charge 4 times more than McDonald's for their burgers. Everybody thought he was nuts, but Janie, knowing Jerry, he gave in. Okay, Jerry had now the go-ahead to take the nest egg and invest in a family fries and burgers business. Well, Jerry did not have a lot of money to invest. It was between $35,000 and so $1,000. So Jerry says, I got the following rules of where and how we're going to run our burger and fries business. I said, okay, let's go. Number one, the place we select for our restaurant must be out of the way and not easy to get to. Why? Well, because it's cheaper to...
Everything opposite of what you would normally think, you know.
Right.
You're all going the wrong direction.
Well, it's obvious. It's to save money. Okay? Hey, Push 'em Up Bills was out of the way. He did all right. And Jerry says, okay, we need restaurant equipment. We're going to buy old equipment and we're going to refurbish it ourselves. Why? To save money. Jerry didn't have a lot of money. Okay. Oh, rule number 3. We are not going to spend a penny on advertising or marketing our business. We're going to go out of the way, buy old equipment, refurbish, and we're not going to spend any money promoting our restaurant. Save money. But Jerry knew he had to come up with a but because they were dying already. We will spare no expense on the ingredients for the quality of our burgers and our fries. Jerry was a kind of forceful, stubborn kind of guy. So they found a place and used equipment. And from there they says, okay, now we got to go to a lawyer and we're going to formalize, because Jerry was a financial man, he knew we got to formalize our business. So at the lawyer's office, the lawyer was doing all the paperwork and Jerry and Janie, I think the kids were there. And the lawyer says, what are you going to call this business? They said, well, we haven't even thought of that. Restaurant. No, that's not acceptable. Jerry says, tell you what, pick any name just for today so I can fill out the paperwork and we'll change it later. I want to complete the paperwork. Jerry sat there and says, oh man, it's me. It's my 3 sons. My one says, oh, let's call it Five Guys. Let's call it Five Guys Burgers and Fries. So they did. Well, Jerry's not ready to open up his restaurant out of the way, that type of thing. And they opened up at 11 a.m. And they sat there and waited and waited and waited. 11:45 a.m., the first customer walks into their new restaurant. By 12:30 p.m., which was 45 minutes later, the place was buzzing. They were profitable their first month, and every month since then, Jerry, Murrell, and his place called Five Guys has been profitable every month since then. As they progressed, they grew their business. But Jerry still had rules. He said, we're still going to spend no money on advertising or marketing. By the way, you have never seen an ad for Five Guys. It's still today. Jerry says, if our burgers and fries are good enough, our customers, with the word of mouth, will do our advertising and marketing for us. Jerry says we're going to spare no expense on the quality of food. He says we want our burgers and fries to be so good that they will rave about them to their friends. That's the word of mouth. And Jerry did something else which bucked the trend. He says, even in today's I gotta have it now society, Jerry refused to have a drive-through because every order is made to order, and therefore it would take too long for a drive-through. And he kept on getting requests of people saying, hey, where's your drive-through? So Jerry put up a sign outside his restaurant. He says, if you're in a hurry, there's a bunch of places nearby that will serve you quicker. He just tell you right now, we're not fast, okay? Oh, by the way, there were no freezers then, and there are no freezers today at any Five Guys. Everything is made with fresh ingredients. Today, where are they? Five Guys has over 1,000 locations, or with 15,000 employees. They do well over $1 billion in revenue.
Oh my gosh.
Jerry and his family own 75% of Five Guys. 20% is owned by people who invested money, the venture people, they did it for the growth thing. And 5% is Jerry went back to his hometown in northern Michigan with his buddies, and he let them invest up to the 5% those extra business, and in some cases he loaned the money for the guys to invest in Five Guys because he didn't want to forget his old friends, his friends from the neighborhood.
I got a little cheeseburger with lettuce, tomato, ketchup, and pickles.
The first Five Guys Burgers and Fries restaurant opened its doors in the mid-1980s and quickly became a Washington, D.C. area favorite. Since then, they've blossomed into one of the nation's most beloved burger destinations. Here are 10 things you may not know about the fast food chain and its rise to fame. Number 10. It offers thousands of ways to enjoy a burger. The wide variety of toppings and specifications offered add up to a lot of potential. It's estimated that there are over 250,000 ways an order can be customized. Number 9. Don't look for menu additions anytime soon. The Murrells, who own Five Guys, get a lot of pressure to add milkshakes, chicken sandwiches, and coffee, but they're holding strong on their decision to keep the options tight. The company doesn't want to risk losing sight of their core, something they believe has crippled a number of once successful food enterprises. Number 8. A report from 2013 indicated Shaquille O'Neal had acquired 155 Five Guys restaurants. Last year, Forbes reported the NBA legend owns 10% of the franchises and is expected to attain billionaire status soon thanks in part to these investments. Number 7. Restaurant ownership or college. That was the choice presented to the young Murrell boys when they were at the age when such things are considered. Clearly, they opted to go into business with their dad and open a family-owned eatery, a decision that has paid off in spades. Number 6. There really are Five Guys behind it. Originally, the name referred to Dad, Jerry, and his 4 sons, Jim, Matt, Chad, and Ben. Then Tyler came along, and ever since, it's represented the offspring, each of which fills a key position in the company. Number 5. Five Guys has served the nation's leader.
1 cheeseburger and 1 fries for me.
Okay, what kind of toppings do you want in cheeseburger?
Number 4. The restaurants are timer-free zones. It's the belief of the company that cooking is something best controlled by the skills of the chef, not kitchen gadgets. Thus, they've instituted a company-wide ban on the use of timing devices. Number 3. It's the country's fastest-growing food chain. Between 2006 and 2012, Five Guys expanded by nearly 800%. Not bad for a burger joint that didn't even have customer seating when they first opened. Number 2. They're not easily pushed around, not even by the Pentagon. Upon learning that an order couldn't be delivered to the enormous military facility, an admiral called and informed the restaurant that all area establishments accommodated their door-to-door service requests. In response, Five Guys hung a 22-foot sign outside that read, "Absolutely no delivery." Number 1. The company takes potatoes very seriously. Most of the ones they serve up as fries hail from Idaho, but overall the goal is to only acquire those that are grown north of the 42nd parallel. There, spuds do their maturing almost exclusively during daylight hours, resulting in a slower maturation process and a more solid tuber. What do you think is the most interesting thing about Five Guys?
Not bad for a kid who was told by his teacher that if he did not change his ways, he would flip burgers for a living. How right she was. Nice story by Jerry. So as you know, it's my obsession. I do the Rebels thing, Rebels and Visitors. And Jerry Murrell is a member of my Rebel, Misfit, and Maverick Hall of Fame. You know, I've identified 15 things that rebels, misfits, mavericks do that struggling entrepreneurs don't do. And what I've done is I've gone through my research with Jerry, and I've identified 10 of those 15 things that Jerry did that most struggling restaurateurs or entrepreneurs can do, but they don't. Let me tell you. Number one, Jerry did what he was passionate about, serving great burgers and fries. You know what most people do? They do what they're good at, whether they like it or not. It's a way to make a living. It's called a job. Number two, Jerry was true to himself. Whether it was life insurance or the oil field or bottled water or financial advisor, he's just a burger and fries guy. Push him up bills and thrash. That's who he is. And he finally admitted and says, this is me. He became who he was, a burger and fries guy. Most people, struggling entrepreneurs, try to change themselves into being something that they're not. And people can see right through the phoniness. Number three, Jerry was stubborn about his rules to open his restaurant. Out of the way, hard to get to, no advertising, type thing. Most entrepreneurs are wishy-washy. Well, I thought I wanted this, but if you think this is better, I'll do what you think because you may know more than me. They're not really convinced that they are right. Jerry was convinced. Number four, Jerry ignored the naysayers who told him it was nuts to enter a marketplace that was dominated by McDonald's. Jerry said, screw the naysayers. Most struggling entrepreneurs would avoid competing against giants in any industry. Number five, Jerry was not afraid to risk starting another business even though his previous attempts had failed. Most struggling entrepreneurs go to great lengths to avoid any kind of risk. They want safe, guaranteed. We see it all the time with people we talk to. Oh, no, this has got to work. Well, you got to try it. Number six, Jerry targeted the people who were willing to wait for a great hamburger and fries. No drive-through. I tell you we're slow. It's worth the wait. Here we are. Most struggling entrepreneurs would target the fast food crowd. Jerry didn't do that. Jerry made his restaurants different. As he said, with no drive-through. Most struggling entrepreneurs would open a drive-through because that's what their competitors had. Jerry became comfortable bucking the trend of not spending any money on marketing and advertising. He was going to do it word of mouth. He wanted his customers to do their marketing for them. You know what Jerry's philosophy is? If we can't make a great burger and fries that people will rave about, we shouldn't be in the business. Most struggling entrepreneurs would be too uncomfortable bucking that trend. Number 9, Jerry spared no expense in the ingredients to make his customers feel like they just had the best hamburger available. Most struggling entrepreneurs would serve an acceptable hamburger at a cheaper price. And finally, point number 10, which really separated him. Jerry purposefully priced his hamburgers 4 times more than McDonald's because you know what? They're worth it. Most struggling entrepreneurs would cut corners and try to undercut McDonald's price by being cheaper and or better. And that's just my twin about Mr. Jerry Murrell, my new entrant into my Rebels, Misfit, and Mavericks Hall of Fame.